I'm going to show you how to make a finger puppet. Making a finger puppet with the 24 peg 3/16 gauge loom. Okay, and it's actually pretty easy. Particularly if you've made my stuffed animals, you can make any head from my 50 stuffed animal pattern book. You can make any head. Alright, so because I want it small, I'm going to stick with my fingering weight. Alright, and I'm actually going to just do an E-wrap cast on of 24 pegs. I'm going to start off with the body. Alright, and I'm going to make a little kitty cat finger puppet. Okay, so I'm just going to E-wrap cast on, and I'm using a fingering weight for this project. Okay, and you can do a lot of fancier stuff with this. I'm just giving you a guide as to how to go about it, and once you have that guide, you can just kind of do whatever you want with it. You can, sky's the limit. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a finger puppet basically, and all you need is your body and your arms, and then you can go off and find any head you want to make. It can be somebody else's head. You ain't got to follow my patterns, you know, just any head, and then you just sew it on, you know. So this one has a little bit more sewing, alright, and normally I wouldn't do that much sewing. Now if you're wanting to make this into a full-on puppet, then you're going to need to do some short rowing for the arms rather than what I've done here, what I've had planned here. I was trying to keep this kind of simple, so where you make a tube and then you add arms that are stuffed. Because it's so small, that's the reason why I did the finger puppet like I did. Okay, but if you're wanting to actually make a puppet using, say, the 24 peg 5/8 inch gauge, which is what most people have, you can E-wrap it, but I can tell you right now, your arms are going to be worked into the body and not done separate like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just knit my first row. I'm going to plan in a garter stitch. So I'm going to knit a row, purl a row, knit a row, purl a row, knit a row, and purl a row. Okay. And if you find that you feel like it's a little too loose, you can add elastic edging, and I have a video on how to do that, and it works great. So if you don't feel like it's snug enough, but I didn't want to do anything too tight. Okay, so there's my first row. Alright, so there's my knit, a row, and then purl a row. Okay, and you're going to do this a total of 3 times. So you knit a row and purl a row, and you should have 3 rows of purl showing up. Right? So I'm going to say, go ahead and pause the video and complete 3 sets of a garter stitch or a horizontal rib stitch. Okay, so knit a row, purl a row 3 times, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the next section. As I said, the body is easy, and the arms aren't too bad either. You have a color change that happens in there, and then I'll show you how to do a really simple head and for a cat. Right? Not my one from my cat pattern from my 50 animal book. This is a different cat. It's going to be really easy. I'm trying to give y'all some simple patterns on this Loom, just trying to show you the full extent of the nice cute projects this little loom can make. Okay, let's go ahead and pause the video, get your 3 sets of garter stitch done, and then when we come back we'll be ready to start the body of the, so we're doing this section here, we'll be ready to start that, which is just a straight stockinette. If you feel good about it, you're doing the 6 rows here, and then you're going to do 14 rows of stockinette. Okay, if you're comfortable and know what this is, so you're going to do 14 rows of stockinette. Then I'll show you what to do next after that. If you don't feel comfortable, do your garter stitch, and I'll come back and I'll show you what's next. Okay, I have completed my 6 rows of garter stitch, as you can see here. And now I'm ready to do my 14 rows of stockinette. And what that means is you're just going to go and you're going to knit for 14 rows. You just go around and you knit for 14 rows. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and knit round and round for 14 rows. That's this section here, and then we will be ready to go ahead and drawstring bind off and start the head. Okay, so I have done my 14 rows for the total of 20 rows. So at this point I'm to here, and so what I want to do is go in and drawstring bind off. So I'm going to cut me a tail. Oh, my good scissors. Scissors my daughter uses. Okay. Alright, so what you want to do is you just want to go in and toss the bottom lip over and pull off. And you want to do that all the way around. And you'll close it off as much as you can, but you're going to be sewing a head on. And so it doesn't really much matter whether you can close it off completely or not, because you're going to sew a head on. Okay? So we're just going to drawstring bind off. And so you're going to pause the video and get that much done. And then we're going to do the arms. And I'll show you the process of starting to do a tighten your cast on for your actual finger section of the puppet. Okay. So go ahead and pause video, get your drawstring bind off done, and come back and I'll show you how to tighten up this cast on so it isn't so loopity loop. Alright. And then we're going to start going about making our arms. Okay. And then I'll show you how to make the head last. Okay, so we have drawstring, and I haven't solidified it because I'm probably going to just use this tail to sew my head on. So what we want to do is we want to tighten up this cast on. And I know there's a lot of different cast ons out there, but usually I just still like the fact that I can control how this cast on gets. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can try to explain this. So I lightly tug on that and I see that this stitch is pulling, which means I need to be starting over here on the opposite side. Okay, so when you see that stitch is pulling, you don't want to mess with it. Okay, so you know that you need to go around this way. So you find your stitch over here and you pull it. Then you find the next stitch and you pull it. And you find the next stitch and the next stitch, and you just work your way around. And then you will have a really nice clean line. Okay, And that is what is important to me on the bottom, is to have that nice clean line, and I would like it kind of a snug cast on. Okay, so you can put your finger in, and this pattern actually works for 2 little fingers if it's on a child. It works on your thumb. But if you want it to fit a little bit more snug on your finger, you can add an elastic around the cast on, and I have a video that shows how to do that. Okay, if you're wanting it, but most of the time you don't want anything too snug on your finger, as that you don't want to lose circulation. So. But if you want this tighter, you can do, say, 18 pegs instead of the 24 and just sew it up the back if you want, on something this small. Okay, but this is comfortable and it'll accommodate a child's 2 little fingers just fine. Okay, so you just go in, and sometimes this has been hard for people to figure out how this works. Okay, and usually I like to stretch it to find the next one if it starts getting too tight. I usually try to hold the next stitch. Okay, and usually you'll see it. I mean, cast on's pretty wide. You just work your way around. And if you have a hard time, just pull on it and it'll show you the next stitch to tighten. Okay. Pull on it, and there's my next stitch. Okay. So you can see where it pulls in and it has a nicer, cleaner line to it. And that's what matters, okay? And you just kind of work your way around, finding your next stitch and pulling it. You just pull it a little and find your next stitch. And pull along. We should be getting to the end. I'm not seeing any more stitches I can pull. And when you get to the end, look, there you go. Okay, you've just tightened your cast on, and you see that it's a lot cleaner, okay? And it'll fit a little bit more snug, okay? So there you have it, and you'll just weave that in. But this gives a nice feel to an adult finger without it being too constricting, okay? So the next thing we want to do is we want to make an arm. Okay, I'm going to start off with my main color, and I want to do a drawstring cast on of 14 pegs. Okay, and then do 6 rows. Okay, so here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, I'm going to turn and go back the other direction. So we're doing a drawstring cast on flat. Okay, and then we're going to do 6 rows of this. Switch it up. Do 6 rows of your animal color or your little person or whatnot. And then sure you get all that over, because you're going to need to be able to drawstring it. Okay. Alright, so we got our drawstring cast on, and we're just going to knit back and forth flat for 6 rows. We're going to be making 2 of these little arms, okay? So here is row 1, and if you want to have an easier time seeing your seam, you'll want to knit the last stitch of each row and slip the first stitch of each row. And I'll show you how that works so that you find it's a little easier. You don't have to do this, you can just knit back and forth. But what it does is allows for a clean line for you to sew up on the side. Alright, so here's our last stitch. We're going to knit it, and then we're going to slip it, which means we're just not going to go back and knit it when we go back around. Just going to slip it. And what that does, it creates a chain that you can easily see to go in and sew it together. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and complete your 6 rows. When we come back, we will attach our white and cut off our pink and do a hand area here. Okay. Okay, I've done my 6 rows, and now it's time for me to change colors. I went ahead and cut the color off, and I'm going to do a half knot around my pink. I'm going to push it all the way as far as I can. Alright, down into the base of the pink. And then I'm going to do a half knot like this. And I'm going to take it as close to the base as I can as well, and then I'm going to pull until I can't pull anymore. And what this does is allows a real close cut of the colors. What I like to do is go in and loosen up those stitches, and then start my knitting. So at this point, what you'll want to do is go ahead and knit for 6 rows, and pause the video, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to finish up this arm. We will want to stuff it, and I'll show you how to do that since we know this is real small. Alright, you'll need a chopstick or something thin like that. It can even be a pencil, that kind of thing, to be able to shove in here to stuff a little stuffing. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, complete your 6 rows. When we come back, we'll be ready to drawstring off and sew up the arm, and then we can stuff it, and I'll show you how to sew it onto the body, and then we'll be ready to show you how to do the head, but you'll need to make a second one of these. Okay, so there's definitely going to be 2 of these. Alright, so pause the video, get your 6 rows done, and we'll come back. Okay, so we got our 6 rows done. I've already cut me a tail, and I'm ready to do a drawstring bind off. And typically what I like to do is go to the opposite side of where the working yarn is and start tossing the loops over and pulling them through. Okay, so you're going to do a drawstring bind off, toss over, pull through. Alright, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing up the arm, and then we're going to be sewing the arm onto the body. And yes, normally I would do the head first if you know me, but because the head is wide open, I'm just basically showing you how to make a finger puppet body. You can do any head of mine out of my 50 pattern stuffed animal book, and it will work with this. Okay, any one of the 50 pattern stuffed animal heads. Okay, but I'm going to do a real simplified cat that should be easy for everyone to do if you're starting out. And while yes, you could make this into a hand puppet. But again, it's gonna change up because you'll need the arms to be able to have fingers go into them, you know. So, and that's a whole different story. Okay. Okay. What you want to do is drawstring that and drawstring that. And what you're doing here with this drawstring on the back end is you just drawstring it to where the stitches are straight like that. Okay. And you can pull that. And I don't know if I can put this up to, there it goes. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to sew up the side, and you want to try to find your chains on the side. Just sew it up, okay, and okay. So you'll want to get on the very edge if possible. So you want to find your edge to sew it up. You want to find the very edge chain and sew it up. Okay. And because you're dealing with something that is really similar in color, I'm just going to keep going with it. Okay. But if you were doing something with a little bit more stark of a contrast, what you would want to do is change up the color when you get to the sleeve area. Okay. Okay. Pull it out. Okay. And I'm going to send through one more time, and then I'm going to tie off with the pink that's there. And the pink, there isn't much of it. There's not enough to really be able to sew on there. So what I may do is try to use the head, the top of the body stranding to sew the head on, sew the arms on, that kind of thing, which makes it a little easier. Okay, well, I never like to waste my extra, and it secures it better. So what you want to do is try to start wadding it up and shoving these threads in here as best you can. Okay, you can use a crochet hook and a pencil. You're just wanting to shove them up in there as best you can. Okay, and what that does is allows something a little bit more pliable to get up there at the base. Then you shouldn't need much polyfill at all. And this is where you may need your okay. At this point, you want to make two of them, and you want to sew their arms up at the top, just like this. Okay, and you'll make two. Okay, if you want a longer arm, you can make a longer arm. Right, but I think the longer the arm is, the kind of weirder it can look. Right, so you want to sew your arms on. Now, you'll make two of those. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to start on the head. Okay, and This will be fairly easy. We're going to start on the bottom of the head. We're going to do a drawstring cast on. The head is not going to be done from back to front like this. We're going to work from bottom to top, because what we're going to do is we're going to make a cat. Now, you don't have to cut the body like I did. You can just send a lifeline through to be able to drawstring it later and just continue with the head. But normally, if you're going to be making any of my other stuffed animals, you'll want to do this separate. Okay, so go ahead and let's get our drawstring cast on done. At this point, what you'll want to do is you'll want to knit for approximately 15 rows, okay, and then you're going to actually just bind off. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and knit for 15 rows, and then we'll be ready to do a bind off. And this is going to be a kitty cat head, fairly simple, that kind of thing. Okay, so pause the video, get your 15 rows done, and we'll come back. Okay, I have knitted my 15 rows, and what I want to do now is I just want to bind off like normal. So just start off knitting, pulling back one, tossing the bottom loop over, and moving over one. Knit the next stitch, take it back one, toss the bottom loop over, move it over one, and knit the next one. So go ahead and bind your stitches off all the way around, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to do our head area to make it look more like a cat. Okay, so pause the video and bind off. We'll come back and finish off the head. Okay, and here is our 15 rows that we finished. Alright, so that's drawstring down. You don't need to tie it off yet, because what we want to do is kind of go about shaping our head first before stuffing. Alright, so I cut kind of a long tail after binding off. And what we're going to do is create the shaping of the head. And this is a really simple cat head. So what you want to do is I want to make this the center point, and I want to go in and sew it up. Now you could just find the end point, sew it up, that kind of thing. That's up to you. You can find it as an end point, sew it up. Okay. And so what I want to do is I want to find my edging here on my chain. And while I'm sewing this up, I'm finding the edge of my chain on both sides. I'm creating a consistent stitch and a nice edge. Okay. You may want to try to pull it some to create more curve for the top of the ears. Okay, because that is our goal, is to create an ear area. Okay. And okay. So we've sewn up the top of our head. We want to pull in just a little bit to kind of give it more of a curve. And then what we want to do, we want to send that needle down however far you want. You can send it about halfway down, a little under halfway if you want. Okay, and then what you can do is you're going to do a seam up through here to create an ear, and you're going to do it here to create an ear. Okay, so what I'm going to do is oops. So up to here. And try to do small seams. Okay. And what you can do is you can pull it a little bit. Creates a little indentation for the ear. Okay. And what you want to do is you're going to send that through. And sew your way down on the other side to create your other ear. Alright. And try to make sure that you're going to be able to match this up. Okay, so you need to go about here. Now I find doing stuff like this, you have the possibility of having it uneven, and I personally have issues with that, which is why you'll find that most of my patterns typically go ahead and actually work in the ears. Okay, so at this point we have sewn up our ear section. I'm going to write that around twice, pull it through, and then I'm going to send it through. And of course I'll need to open the bottom up so that I can stuff it. Okay, so I'm going to send that through. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up into a bunch and stuff it in the head. Okay. I never liked to waste yarn. You can use it as stuffing. Save yourself the money. Alright. So at this point, what you want to do is just stuff it. Okay. And here we can kind of see little ears. Okay, once you feel you got that in there, you can drawstring it down. Okay, then you attach your little ear cat head. You can take this extra to be able to cinch the eye area in to give yourself a little section to be able to add eyes, because your tail up here is what's going to actually sew on all your arms and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show you how to go in and cinch up eye areas, and with it being kids, yeah, I'm sure you probably want to embroider in some eyes, because I know the age of my kids and everything. I'm probably just going to hot glue in some eyes. Okay, so I'm going to send this up through here and find an indentation as to where I want the eyes. Try to get it about even. Okay, and I'll pull that in snug as possible. And I'll pull that in and pull it right back down through here. And looky there. You've created a little eye area. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to tie this off, I'm going to knot it off. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Alright. Got that done, and just kind of snip it. Okie dokie. Now, at this point, what you want to do is you want to, I'm probably going to cut that down a little bit so I can weave it a little easier. I'm going to weave it in up through the middle here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my extra tail here that I have. I'm going to sew my head and arms on. Okay? Remember to make 2 arms. Alright? Now, you probably want to sew your head on first. So I want to find out where we want to start sewing on at. The back's probably a good place to start. Okay. And then you just want to work your way around. And I'm going to stick my finger in there and see if I can't keep me consistent. So send that through. And send that through. You just want to do this all the way around. It's like a weaving process. Okay. So you just want to weave that in. And then grab another piece of here, weave it in. Grab another piece here. And weave it in. Sorry if I'm getting out. I always have a bad time when it comes to showing how to sew on body parts. Weave. Weave. I'm just going to do this all the way around. Okay. Okay, So we've sewn our head on, and I'm going to show you how to take this yarn that you've got to go in and sew on your arms. You're going to find the side right where that ear lines up, send it through. Alright, and I usually like my seam to be on bottom so that you don't see it. So you need to fold it in half, find out where that top bit is, and start sewing it on there. Okay, and you try to make sure that you follow the column so it's consistent throughout. Okay. Okay, got our little arm sewn on. Okay, and what you want to do is when you have that sewn on, what I like to do is try to send it up through the needle, up through the middle. I hate cutting and reattaching yarn, and so I try to avoid it. And I'm going to send it through to the other side. Okay, and because I'm trying to show you how to do this, I still have another arm to make. You want to embroider in some eyes, that kind of thing, and weave in your tail, and there you go. You have your little finger puppet. Okay, so I gotta go make me a second arm, do that in, hot glue in some eyes, weave that in, and that is basically how you go in and make a finger puppet. And you can do this basic cat, or you can go about and make the bear. This is my teddy bear on the 24 peg loom, and you can see it works out just fine. Okay, so you can make any animal from my 50 pattern stuffed animal book, and that is quite a few options. Okay, so go ahead and finish up your animal, but that is how you make a finger puppet.